Hello, and welcome to our lesson on communications and expectations. This segment will cover the importance of project communication. Every relationship advice book, column, or blog seems to have one thing in common. They all tout the importance of communication. Though few would dispute the truth of this, there seem to be far fewer answers than questions when it comes to success in project communication. What should I say? When? To whom? How often? By which method? In this chapter, we will discuss general answers to these questions. Since the specifics of your project will vary, this week provides some of the global methods and tools that will help you apply these concepts to your individual project and team. Project communication used to be relatively simple. In days gone by, a product may have been produced by two people, an artisan and their apprentice. A customer placed an order, and one or two people completed the work. Coopers built barrels, blacksmiths made horseshoes, and so on. During these exchanges, communication tended to be face-to-face and one-on-one. When the Industrial Revolution changed the nature of production, face-to-face communication moved towards the unidirectional communication of mass marketing. A corporation produced a product and advertised its benefits via disconnected media such as magazines and television. Communication nowadays. In the modern era, this is no longer the case, especially when it's related to product engineering and our service-based economy. Modern project teams are big, and their projects are complex. Mass customization and complicated custom-built projects are no longer the exception, but the rule. To this end, market response is critical. Companies increasingly base marketing and product decisions on actual customer feedback, whether direct or through social media. Gone as well are the strict, clear hierarchical structures of the master apprentice or even the top-down foreman factory-worked model. Modern organizations are much flatter, more responsive, and more likely to employ professionals who expect to be much more mobile throughout their career. These changes have broadened the emphasis on two-way responsive communication within teams, both at the organizational and customer levels. Within a team, responsiveness to change is both expected and welcomed. Within an organization, leaders need to properly demonstrate their vision vertically to management as well as horizontally to their peers. Outside the team, many stakeholders also expect more direct involvement throughout the process, a condition made necessary by market forces and increasing competitive pressure. Indeed, it's often difficult to determine who the team is and which personnel are strictly stakeholders. Individuals will often shift between the two based on time and perspective. Communication protocol. Communication, or the lack of, is the challenge highlighted most often, by far. It is good that most project managers realize how important effective communication is to project success, but it is equally frustrating to observe how few project managers take concrete steps to improve it. Let's start with email. Email gives us the ability to prioritize responses and create a thread or paper trail if necessary. These are good things, but I have observed that we have not fully grasped the technology and maximized its potential. Have you ever received a 5-page email of endless paragraphs? There are no rules, laws, or guidelines. Project email communication is left to the whim and style of those communicating. This sounds like winging it, and that does not work in a project environment constrained by scope, schedule, and budget. Create an email protocol. Be proactive and determine who communicates with whom and when. Identify which emails should go to what stakeholders. Establish a guideline for CC emails. You will improve communication efficiency and enjoy buy-in from the team. Tips for email communication: send the email only to those who need to know. Proofread the email before sending it. Use spell check. Use the subject line to set the tone of the message. Create an email protocol and use it. If you are angry, wait a while before sending it. Do not write a novel. Be succinct. Be succinct, but include all necessary information. Do not use email to avoid people. If the information is sensitive, consider a face-to-face meeting. Creating the project communication plan. The project communication plan should include an email protocol and much more. Plan how you will communicate effectively as your project matures. Treat the act of communicating as formally as you do your WBS or project charter. Project managers work in a constrained, demanding environment where good is often not good enough. Project managers and team members must predetermine how stakeholders should interact to achieve maximum efficiency as they move through the project lifecycle. Here are some questions that should be asked and answered when creating the project communication plan. What are you trying to communicate? When must it be done? End of year, etc. How will the communication be accomplished? Email, formal letter, with original signature, meeting. How often must the communication occur? Once the project leader answers these questions, they are ready to construct their communication plan. The project manager should observe the project plan. Here's an example of a communication plan. Communicating across project steps. Communication is the lifeline of any project organization. Blocks and hierarchies contained in the project organization are linked and sustained through effective communication. The figure shows a network of communication across project entities. Static organization structures that are implemented as de facto requirements do not serve the purpose of securing across-the-board cooperation. A project schedule represents the sequence of activities and tasks in pursuit of the product of the project. The elements in the sequence are linked through effective baton-passing communication from one stage of the project to the next, without each stage of recognizing and understanding the functions, goals, roles, and responsibilities within the project. The overall project outlook runs the danger of failure. The 5 senses for communication. Communication can be effected through various means. In addition to our normal verbal communication, we can employ all 5 senses to get the project information across to the audience. The figure illustrates the 5 senses that can be employed in the communication process. Making eye contact is a form of communication. Hearing and speaking are forms of communication. Touching is a form of communication. Smelling is a form of communication. Even tasting, for example, at a project reception, is a form of communication. Smart approach to project objectives and communication. Project objectives provide directions to a team concerning what needs to be done, when, and how. Thus, project objectives must be communicated clearly and positively, and with enthusiasm. Objectives must be realistic and achievable. As an anecdotal example, a project manager once confided in the author by saying, "In all my years of experience, I never missed a deadline until I came to this organization." This is a classic indication of unreasonable requirements, unclear objectives, and unrealistic expectations. A smart approach to developing and communicating project objectives uses the acronym for specific, measurable, aligned, realistic, and timed, SMART. Working hard is not the only option. Working smart provides better long-term benefits. The SMART notion of project objectives is explained in the next section. SMART goals and communication. Specific project objectives must be specific, explicit, and unambiguous. Objectives that are not specific are subject to misinterpretation and misuse. Measurable. Project objectives should be designed to be measurable. Any factor that cannot be measured cannot be tracked, evaluated, or controlled. Aligned. A project's goals and objectives must be aligned with the core strategy of an organization and relevant to prevailing needs. If not aligned, an objective will have misplaced impacts. Realistic. A project and its essential elements must be realistic and achievable. It is good to dream and have lofty ideas of what can be achieved, but if those pursuits are not realistic, a project will just end up spinning wheels without any significant achievements. Timed. Timing is the standardized basis for work accomplishment. If project expectations are not normalized over time, there would be no basis for an accurate assessment of performance. This is the end of this segment of our lesson. In the next segment, we will discuss basic communication concepts in project leadership. This course is presented to you by South Europe College. Thank you for listening, and see you on our next segment.